Alright guys, listen up.
It's Crash Bandicoot 2! Cortex strikes back!
Rush Bandit Cunt 2. Cortex sucks Crash 2 is where Naughty Dog said fuck it with all this hardcore platforming shit and had a bit of fun with the game. I stated in the previous video that the list for this video and Crash Warped was going to be a lot harder to make, and I still stand by that point. This list was rather difficult to make and I had to replay Crash 2 to refresh my opinions on the levels. And it also makes itself so much harder because I have more nostalgia towards this game. I didn't play Crash 1 until I was a bit older. Crash 2 was one of the first games I ever played, so I do have some biased opinions towards it. Also, some of the levels don't stand out as much as Crash 2 is nowhere near as hard as its predecessor. 3 levels that didn't make this list: Cold Hard Crash, Ruin Nation, and both of the jetpack levels. Nevertheless though, your mum. Nevertheless though, rest your neck and head on the chair, and let's just jump into it. Sewer or later? It's funny because it's supposed to be sooner or later, but you're in a sewer. That's a good meme. My favorite meme is Rickroll. Sewer or later is my favorite in the trio of sewer levels in Crash 2. I wanted to put one of the sewer levels in because I really like the atmosphere of these levels. And no, I'm not going to go on another tangent about why I love atmosphere in games. Something that I like specifically about horror games, and honestly all games in general, is if the game has a good atmosphere. Shut your fucking mouth! I think that all the things that these sewer levels hold is so cool. From those guys with the flamethrowers, to the monkey bar parts with the burning pipes below Crash's feet, to the spinning fans that you must either slide under or destroy the fan blades with the enemies. The settings of these levels have stuck with me since I was younger, and maybe I have some sort of bias towards it. Even that Crash Team Racing level that was based off of the sewer levels, I thought that was awesome. Even though there are 2 other levels that have the same setting, which is the Eel Deal and Hanging Out, I chose Sewer or Later because I guess I enjoyed that more than the other 2. And originally I had 3 on the same spot on the list, but I didn't want to clusterfuck 3 levels on one spot of the list. Also, instead of entering the sewer levels like you normally do in Crash 2, I wish that in the Insane Trilogy they changed it to be like this.
Yo, what the
You want penis enlargement pills?
Behaving. It's funny because it's supposed to be behaving.
Shut the fuck up, you cunt!
I'll tell you what, I used to be scared of the bees. Don't judge. The setting of these levels is fairly basic, but the bee enemies are a really cool and unique enemy. The bees are triggered to chase you when you walk past their hive. They'll chase you until you reach a set point. And it's a bit upsetting that this type of enemy wasn't even used more in this game, or even used in Crash 3. Because I really enjoy trying to rush away from the bees while taking into consideration all the obstacles in my way. I also really like that digging mechanic to avoid the bees. That's why I really like this level. This level stands out because of the experimenting with the new mechanics and is overall a unique level. But honestly, we all know why this level was so cool. We all know why this level made the list. The death animation for when Crash dies by the bees. It is so good, and the original is terrifying. Totally Bear. This level had to be on the list. I even said it in the last video that all the animal riding levels in every Crash game are some of the most memorable levels in the original Crash trilogy. They're very fast paced and the music is very memorable and the settings are pretty cool. There are 2 other levels in Crash 2 in which you ride Polar, which is Bear It and Bear Down, but I personally like Totally Bear the most. It's the most challenging, it's the coolest as your vision is quite obstructed by the darkness, and I really like the way you access the level. To access the stage, after completing the level Unbearable, when Polar throws you over a crevasse, don't go towards the end of the level, however slide jump back over the crevasse and jump on Polar. You'll then be teleported to the secret warp room in which then you can access this level. I just really like the discreetness of this level. When comparing this level to the other animal riding levels from the other 2 Crash games in the Insane Trilogy, these ones are probably better than the ones in Crash 1, but still probably the least memorable. But there is one problem with this level. In the original Crash 2, it's quite questionable what Crash plans to do with that bear. Night Fight. Fight Night. Fortnite. I don't think that those stock standard woods levels at the start of the game are that great. However, when those levels don't show their face for the whole game until one of the last levels where everything's pitch black,
It's good.
Night Flight is not an incredibly difficult level on its own. It's a new concept where you have to collect dragonflies that are lit up for a certain amount of time, so you can't really take your time with the level, and you must rush it. Like I said, challenging but not incredibly difficult. But that's if you want to do the level normally. Getting all the boxes is quite a challenge. First off, you won't be able to die for the majority of the level. Once you reach the branching path, go right, break all the boxes you can, and do the bonus stage. After you've done that, go all the way back in the dark where the only sources of light are those robots with the spikes. Once again without dying, because if you die, the bonus death route will disappear. Manage to get to the death route, and then play the level normally. It's not impossible, but quite a challenge. And it just makes that one of my favorite levels in Crash 2. Crash Dash, Crash Crush, and Unbearable. I know I said before that I didn't want to clusterfuck 3 levels into one spot, but I had to for this one. So this level/levels may come as a surprise. By now, everyone knows the chase levels from the Crash games. Every Crash game has their chase levels. Even the Game Boy Advance version did. To most, the chase levels are some of your standard Crash levels. To me, honestly, they are some of those standard Crash levels, except Crash 2's chase levels. Only because of the nostalgia I have towards them. I'll admit it. I used to be terrified of these levels. I can't really tell you why, but it probably had something to do with the original music. My favourite of the 3 had to be Unbearable, because not only were you being chased by a polar bear, at the final stretch of the level you ride polar. That is fucking sick. And yeah, it scared the shit out of me as a kid, and I guess that feeling kinda stuck with me. Don't get me wrong, I don't get scared from these levels anymore, but a lingering feeling is still there when I play them. Actually, there was a lot of stuff that completely scared me as a kid even though they weren't scary at all. Examples from other games would be Donkey Kong Country. Levels like Tanked Up Trouble. Minecart Madness. And Blackout Basement. That one really fucked me up. Outside of platformers, other games that also scared me included Tekken 2. Kazuya and Devil's Stage and their music used to scare the shit out of me. And it wasn't even just the music, but sound effects such as Kazuya's distorted voice as Devil that echoes as he attacks you adds to the fear. That plus their stages were ominously dark. I might have a reason to why these things scared me so much, even though the intention was definitely not to scare people. That reason might be the difficulty. The levels and the stages that I mentioned that used to scare me all were stages that were towards the end of the game. And me being me, who was absolutely shit at games, knew that these levels were hard. With that, I knew that I was going to die a lot or lose heaps of lives. I think that's the reason why I used to get scared of this stuff. The music and the atmosphere that accompanied these levels and stages just stuck with me. And it didn't have to be just music and stages either. It goes to show that shit that scared me as a kid, even stuff that wasn't even scary, stuck with me. And that's why I love the chase levels from Crash 2. The music is so good, it fits the level so perfectly, and it's hard for me to shrug the nostalgia off when it's so present. And that's it. I know, this list was slightly more biased than the last, but that's because Crash 2 was a game that I played much before Crash 1, and I have more nostalgia for it. That might make you want to call me a
Stupid bitch.
but it's really hard to shrug the nostalgia off as it was one of the first and one of my favorite games of all time. This means that the Crash 3 list would be even more biased. That's probably the most fun Crash game, and I did play that before Crash 2, so it will probably be very hard to make that list as well. You know what else is hard though? Dark Souls.
What a fucking nick.